Hey Wastrels, Cacophony Great Shield here with another Caedo's Countdowns. This time going over the 10 worst NPCs in the Fallout series. Yes, of course, this countdown is heavily based on my own opinion, so if you don't see the NPC that comes to your mind when you think worst, please put it down below in the comments. The criteria for this is more freeform too, because worst is a super subjective term already, and mainly just boils down to, Caedo, did you like this NPC? And if my response was, frick no, then they'll have a spot on this countdown. And since I do guides, of course, I'm going to be showing you where to find these NPCs if you want to either torture yourself or torture them. It's up to you. So let's get started with the 10 outrageously obnoxious, annoying, and abhorrent worst NPCs in the Fallout series.
Can you help me? I need water. Purified water, please.
Pretty sure I ranted about these game mechanics with a face back in my Fallout 3 playthrough, and I almost forgot to put them on this countdown because it's been so long. The water beggars of Fallout 3 are just that. They are a source of good karma if you screw up royal and you need to get back in the good graces of the wasteland. Unfortunately, because it's a game mechanic, these water beggars tend to come across as lazy because 3 of them don't move from the spot that they are sitting the entirety of the game. And when you finally give them the purified water that they request, if you speak to them again, they'll ask for more. Endlessly. Now I know a cooldown type thing would probably make it more frustrating to try and get that karma back up, but in a lore sense, this just means that they're complacent in begging for water. And another thing, 3 of these men are right outside the big settlements, Megaton, Rivet City, and Tenpenny Tower. Is it because there's a no water begging policy in those settlements, or they've already had their chance and annoyed all of the residents for their purified water to a point to where the leadership of those settlements kicked them out? None of us will really know because they're paper thin beggar characters. It is my hope that in the future that mechanics like this are just hid a little bit better, or we're able to just bypass dealing with a human in the first place. So if you're looking to build up that positive karma for 50 a bottle, or minus 50 a bottle if you have modified FEV in the Aqua Pura after completing the Waters of Life stuff, Mickey can be found outside of Megaton, Carlos across the bridge from Rivet City, and Willie outside of Tenpenny Tower. Finally, there's Ben Canning, who is actually a Wastelander random encounter, who will also ask you for water. He's less of a good for nothing because he actually does travel though.
Well, hey there, stranger. Sierra Petrovita's the name. Good to see a new face in Girder Shade.
The name's Sierra Petrovita. I traveled all the way from the capital wasteland to visit this place. Maybe you've heard about my Nuka-Cola museum?
Longtime fans of Fallout get the benefit of seeing characters return, some beloved, some not so much. And unfortunately, Sierra Petrovita, or Petrovita, she changed how she said her name, makes an appearance in Fallout 4 as well as Fallout 3. In Fallout 3, Sierra has the largest Nuka-Cola collection and is happy to give any passersby the grand tour. But then you start to realize this is a bit more of an obsession because the shack that she lives in is also treated as a Nuka-Cola museum. She's a little bit obsessed with Nuka-Cola. So much in fact that she can give you a side quest to collect 30 Nuka-Cola Quantums and bring them back to fill up her Nuka-Cola machine, the reward for which is the schematic for the coveted Nuka grenade. Sierra's obsession with Nuka-Cola kind of does create this little, I don't know, annoying personality, but she's also a little bit ignorant to her neighbor Ronald's advances. So while Sierra does know a lot about Nuka-Cola, she doesn't seem to know a lot about people, or maybe has trouble reading what people are all about. And Nuka-Cola obviously being an addictive substance, possibly damaging her brain in some way, I'm not sure, we don't know anything about her prior, I think earned her a spot on the worst NPCs countdown. But wait, Sierra comes back in the Nuka World expansion for Fallout 4, because of course she does. It's a theme park based around Nuka-Cola. And Nuka World's kind of strange because she seems to be kind of outside of what's going on in Nuka World as a whole and still just appearing as a regular old tourist, which is weird seeing as Nuka World is taken over by multiple gangs of raiders. How she arrived in Nuka World by herself makes me wonder why the raiders didn't slap a bomb collar around her neck immediately, and it could be because she has that weird level of pep that nobody wants to be around, the hopped up on gallons of liquid sugar kind. In Fallout 4's Nuka World, Sierra will have another quest available, this one a little more in depth. death. She's seeking out the hidden cappies around the park, which you can basically do all the legwork for. I did make a guide for this if you want the legwork to be a bit easier, but these hidden cappies reveal a password for John Caleb Bradberton's office, hopefully retrieving for her the secret recipe for Nuka-Cola in the process. And fortunately, the outcome of these quests, or the end of her story arc as it were, can result in her going hostile and you having no choice but to kill her. But this also ultimately determines what rewards you get at the end. Choices being the Nuka Nuke launcher, basically a quantum charged fat man, or a Nuka World jumpsuit. So if you were looking for Sierra and her multiple side quests that she provides, Girder Shade, like I said, is in the southwestern corner of the Capital Wasteland in Fallout 3, and in Fallout 4, after you start the Nuka World DLC, Sierra will be on the path towards Fizztop Grill in Nuka Town, USA.
I'm sure you mean well, but I'm afraid you'll have to wait until I'm in a calmer emotional state before my memory is going to function.
Getting a job through family or friends, how well does that pan out? Deputy Beagle is one such example. He was made deputy of Prim in Fallout New Vegas by the sheriff 2.5 months before the attack on Prim from the convicts of NCR Correctional Facility. Beagle was apparently the brother of this sheriff's wife, and those were apparently the only requirements because he is an outright coward that still manages to play it off as if he's doing his job well. Beagle is one of the only leads for clues to find out where Benny went, you know, the guy who shot you, the courier, in the head. Thing is, he managed to get himself captured immediately after the sheriff and his wife were killed in the same room. The convicts took him from the sheriff's house and locked him up in the kitchen in the Bison Steve Hotel. This man is not essential. This is not the job he signed up to do, and he plays it off as being maybe overqualified, because if you choose to save Deputy Beagle from the Bison Steve kitchen, he'll find a way to make himself out to be the hero of the day, despite his life being in your hands the whole time. And the whole thing about the deputy is they're supposed to step up and take the place of the sheriff if something happens to them, which he did not. And no matter what the results are when it comes to Prim's leadership, Deputy Beagle will thankfully be excluded going forward no matter what. If you're looking for Deputy Beagle to, I don't know, throw him in the oven, in New Vegas he is located in Prim in the Bison Steve Hotel's kitchen the first time you arrive. And I for one am grateful in the options you have to deal with them. You ever save up your caps to get something real expensive, real awesome, a status symbol that any other Wastelander would be jealous of, then have it stolen and finding the thief who has the gall to try to sell it back to you? That's T-Ray, the leader of the New Reno Chop Shop in Fallout 2. Let me give some context, but I'm sure you know where this is going. The Highwayman is one of the minute number of vehicles that are actually drivable or usable in the Fallout universe, and you have to jump through so many hoops just to get the thing running, and some bonus hoops if you want some extra upgrades. I made a guide on how to get it, by the way, and you can check out that link below. Smitty in the Den has this sitting on blocks until you're able to find him the part that he needs, then pay him $2,000 to get it into a working state. Then the car is yours. However, the first time you travel to New Reno, your highwayman will be sitting in the parking lot with the other cars that don't work so well. That is until you go to a different section of New Reno, come back and realize, hey, my car's not here anymore. You can follow the smell of burnt rubber over to the Chop Shop, where the highwayman sits in the clutches of T-Ray and his crew. They stole your car because they want to fix it up and sell it to Mr. Bishop, the leader of one of the 4 crime families in New Reno. Being the grade A dirtbag that he is, T-Ray can be convinced a couple of ways to give you back your car without resorting to violence, of course, and will even opt to upgrade it, but he will also charge you up to an additional $1,000 just to get your car back, and then $500 for the upgrade. If you don't have the speech or the barter to get him to lower his price, you'll be spending almost the same amount it cost for you to get the car running in the first place. So leaving T-Ray unpunished is a difficult decision to make, and even if you kill him after purchasing your car back and getting the upgrades, he won't have your money on him. Fortunately, nobody will miss him either.
This is the worst day of my life.
It's time to go. You know the rules.
The rules are stupid. Hey!
Can I try?
Hey, new kid. I don't know if anyone told you yet, but let me set the record straight. I'm Princess. When you're around me, I'm in charge. You shut up and do what I say.
Bethesda Studios have this amazing ability to make insufferable child characters in their games. In Little Lamplight of Fallout 3, there's many different brands of insufferable children, so it was a bit difficult to just choose one, but I chose Princess. This is the bossy brand of kid, who introduces herself as Princess and demands that you do what she says. I figure most of us have met a kid like this in real life, which can contribute to some very real aggressive feelings while you're playing this game. If questioned, she can manage to go pint-sized Karen for a minute too, threatening to use Mayor McCready's powers because they're friends to kick you out of town or lock you in the vault. Now, because all of these kids are set as essential video game ratings, blah blah blah, in an unmodded game, taking the violent approach is not an option, and have to get a bit more creative in dealing with Princess, by doing a little bit extra for the Little Lamplight kids. Not required, but it is pretty righteous. If you don't have the Child at Heart perk or pass the speech check to get into Little Lamplight, McCready instead sends you to go save some of their kids that have been captured by the Paradise Falls slavers. Once you go through the process of saving the other kids, Sammy, after returning to Little Lamplight, guards the back gate with Princess. This is behind Knickknack's store. If you had previously asked Princess about her nickname and how she got it, you can find out why her nickname is Princess from Sammy instead. It's hilarious, and you get to remind her that McCready punched her in the face and became mayor, after she was mayor for less than 5 minutes. It's rare that the annoying characters in these games get their comeuppance aside from just shooting them with a laser gun. But if I were to choose any of the children in the Fallout series that is the worst, I would go with Princess, probably every time. Like I said, Princess is located in Little Lamplight. This is the town of children in the Lamplight Caverns on the western side of the Capital Wasteland in Fallout 3. Even though the story takes you here, talking to Princess, thankfully, is optional.
You lose your owner, buddy? Okay then, let's stick together.
Oh man, hold on before you start rage typing, unsubbing, and disliking this video. Dogmeat in Fallout 4 is a good dog, but a not so great companion. This is still my own opinion, right? There was clearly some love and care put into Dogmeat, as well as different aspects of AI that other human companions or humanoid companions don't have. But there's a combination of things that just ultimately frustrate me with Dogmeat as a companion in Fallout 4. Dogmeat in combat? Great. Dogmeat being able to detect healing items? Also cool. Dogmeat getting underfoot all the time and standing in front of you for some reason, not okay. Just to make sure I'm not speaking on memories, I actually booted up Fallout 4, started a new playthrough, and got about 5 hours into the game with Dogmeat as my companion. But just about any time I would go into loot mode after defeating some enemies or just scavenging ruins, Dogmeat would find a way to just spaz out and get in the way. Dogmeat becomes absurdly neurotic and just wants to be in the way all the time and needs my attention. Maybe this is the role-playing aspect of dogs always loving attention, but for me that just makes Dogmeat an adorable hindrance. Maybe I was just spoiled by D-Dog in Metal Gear Solid 5 that came out 2 months before Fallout 4. I'm really trying not to over-explain my position here because I know people are going to be irritated with him being on the list at all. To me, in Fallout 4, Dogmeat works as a pet to leave at home at whatever settlement I decide is my home, but not as a companion. He's in the way constantly, sets off traps, and is an absolute spazoid when nothing is happening. Thank you for listening. You're welcome to unsubscribe if you wish. But if you're looking to have Dogmeat as a companion just to prove me wrong, you can find him at the Red Rocket, right outside of Sanctuary, pretty much right after emerging from the vault after you start the game.
What's the matter? Homesick? Outside not everything it was cracked up to be? Or was it just that Daddy didn't want you anymore?
In Fallout 3's Vault 101, there are so many choices of worst NPC in there alone. But this was one of my brand new discoveries for myself, so Alan Mack is going to be the choice of Vault 101 dirtbags. You know, when you're escaping Vault 101 and there's somebody pounding on the window, telling you you're ruining everything, that's Alan Mack. You can't reach him unless you're using console commands to click through the wall, and even so, he's still essential. But what you don't know until the midpoint of the game where the Enclave make their appearance is if you killed the original Overseer, Alan Mack succeeds as the new Overseer. And so if Amada is able to contact you from Vault 101 through an emergency broadcast, the message will be a little bit different, but in essence, she'll still be begging for your help, starting the Trouble on the Homefront quest. The context is roughly the same if the original Overseer was still here. He's taken a power trip to the next extreme, and the vault is split. Half want to go outside, half wish to close the vault door again. But just wait until you meet up with the man of the hour, Overseer Mack. As soon as you step through the door of the Overseer's office, he manages to insult both you and your dad within a few seconds. What a great start. Mack has it so twisted at this point, and uses the argument that, well, if people leave, they'll die out there, when his plan to stop the rebels is shooting and killing a couple of them. He also just straight up quotes the GOAT test you take at the beginning. To whom do we owe everything we have, including our lives? The Overseer. And there's something about someone so high on their authority and making it so blatantly obvious that they're not caring for the vault, they're caring for themselves and their power. I think that sums up Overseer Mack. He does still give the player a choice, but less than the previous Overseer would. Either walk away or fight him. I think most of us would choose the fire and forget option though, because he insulted us before we even got to speak. So if you want to get this opportunity to get up close and personal with Alan Mack as the Overseer, you have to kill Alphonse Almodovar, the previous Overseer, at the beginning of the game, and then during the turning point, Alan Mack will be the Overseer in Vault 101 during Trouble on the Homefront. What you do from there is up to you.
I did so make jet? Well, you think this lab is for show? Why? 'Cause I could. Family Mordino needed a product. Myron makes a product. Mordino makes Myron happy.
Fallout 2's insufferable genius with a chemistry set, and also a possible companion if you can put up with him, Myron, creator of the chem known as Jet, derived from the fumes of Brahmin dung and packaged up in a nice little inhaler as the most addictive and easy to produce substance in the wasteland. Myron ultimately is a spoiled teenager as a result of having this knowledge and using it for evil. He's one that suffers from being the smartest person in the room, being able to rub everyone's face in it, and demanding more respect than he gets in his current situation. See, when you meet Myron, he is under the influence and, I suppose, control of the Mordino family in Reno, the crime family that has big aspirations of controlling other parts of the wasteland via use of Jet and its addictive properties. And it works for towns like Redding. To this end, they brought on Myron, and he created a drug that did exactly what they needed. As companions go in Fallout 2, Myron is probably the weakest. He's pretty terrible with any weapon, but he has the mild benefit of whipping you up some chems if you collect all the basic materials for him, but you can just buy them from different settlements. So why would you take the extra steps? One of the best parts about Myron is that he also has attachment issues. If you bring him onto your party and then kick him out for whatever reason, he will beg and even try to bribe you with a secret stash in Golgotha, which is the graveyard to the south of New Reno. Him being absolute scum through and through doesn't really stop there though. If you happen to be a female chosen one, his tune changes entirely and he will hit on you relentlessly. And poorly, I might add. Unfortunately, it gets even worse if it's a low intelligence female character you're playing, because it can be implied that he drugs you. Ugh. He's just a terrible, terrible human being. Fortunately, even the canon of Fallout 2 did away with Myron pretty quickly, being stabbed to death by a jet addict after the defeat of the Enclave. There's nothing stopping you from speeding up the process too though, or just abandoning him somewhere, because you can bring him on as a companion. Speaking of, let's get more in depth on where to find Myron as well. When you venture to New Reno, which is almost smack dab in the middle of the Fallout 2 map, on Virgin Street there's a drug dealer named Jules, standing right next to the parking lot where your car can be stolen from. Well, if you speak to Jules and ask about the origin of Jet, where it comes from, he can share the rumor that the Mordino family, of course, is in control of Jet, and they have a so-called drug wizard in their employ at a place called Stables outside of the city. You can learn the location of Stables by working with the Mordino family by speaking to Little Jesus in the Desperado Casino and seeing if you can gain any work from them, but there is a level requirement for this, so it is easier going through Jules because there's really no requirement besides, I suppose, being nice. Anyway, if you gain the location of stables, you can leave New Reno and go there. It'll be slightly up to the north. And this is where Myron is kept. No, not in the open, but actually in the basement, towards the back of the stables themselves. You can go down here, get past the guards, either by speech or by violence. No one will really mind, either way, except maybe Myron. And then you'll have access to Myron. Have fun. Oh, I should have mentioned he can help find the cure to jet addiction, too. Ah, well, jet's a constant in the wasteland anyway.
You have the audacity to accuse me, Lynette, the first citizen of Vault City, of lying? Leave! You are no longer welcome in this city.
What happens when you're isolated for years, are not part of one of Vault Tech's experiments, have a GEC to get a society started, and are taught to hate everybody else in the wasteland? Well, you get First Citizen Lynette. She is a leader of Vault City, which the shining result of Vault 8 after it had used its Garden of Eden creation kit, or GEC. This woman has a massive superiority complex, thinking herself above everyone outside of the city walls, and probably some inside the walls too. And don't even talk to her about mutations of any kind. She wears the attitudes of a classist society on her sleeve, and will only give you the time of day if you convince her that you are who you say you are, or show up repping another vault. Otherwise, you're wasteland trash. What brings the Chosen One here in the first place is finding out where Vault 13 is located so you can get a GEC and bring it back to your village. Despite even proving that you are descended from the Vault Dweller and needing access to their Vault computers to find out where Vault 13 is, she will outright refuse you unless you're a citizen. There's many ways to become a citizen, including getting false papers, taking the citizenship test, or doing a little task for the first citizen. The task she gives you if you don't feel like taking the citizenship test, like don't have the stats, and don't want the forged papers, is to deal with the Gecko power plant to the northeast. Gecko is a settlement full of ghouls. Obviously, Lynette has a hatred towards them, but also thinks it's an act of aggression that the power plant is leaking into the water supply and killing, mutating, and stunting births of Vault City. Her solution is to just slaughter all the ghouls and stop the power plant from working permanently. Whatever your choice is, her attitude doesn't really change, and if you question First Citizen Lynette or do anything to invoke her wrath, don't ask about the quote-unquote servants of the city. Oh yeah, Vault City has slaves too. She will find any reason to exile you and revoke your citizenship after you've jumped through all these hoops to get it. First Citizen Lynette is the best example of the worst Vault City has to offer. Thankfully, when it comes to dealing with the Gecko power plant problem, you'll mainly be going through Counselor McClure, who is a lot more agreeable as a citizen of Vault City. Just make your introductions with Lynette, and then speak to McClure on the other side of the council building. That's if you want to progress the story here and don't gun her down then and there. First Citizen Lynette is located in Vault City, of course, towards the back in the council area. At the very least, you will be required to get a day pass when you meet up at the gate, but if you take off your armor, which reveals your vault suit, you'll be able to get a day pass for free through customs.
Let's trade.
What gave you the idea we're friends?
These pretty obvious omissions would be mentioned by someone in the comments, I know, if I didn't say anything about them myself. Both of them are Fallout 4 characters. That would be Preston Garvey and Marcy Long. You've seen the memes, you know why Preston Garvey is one of the most annoying characters. And that also makes him low-hanging fruit, but it is also an unfortunate situation where I believe he is the only companion that is a quest giver too, or a radiant quest giver. If he wasn't a radiant quest generator, I think he would have actually been appreciated more as a character and companion instead of just a settlement needs your help guy. Now for Marcy Long, she's just ungrateful. She is just ungrateful, and she ends up joining the rest of the survivors of the Quincy Massacre, including Preston Garvey, at Sanctuary. She's a bit of an angry complainer archetype. And if that's all your character is when you join my town, you don't want him there. Thankfully, with, I think it was a Wasteland Workshop, we actually got stocks that we could put people in, and of course a lot of people enjoyed putting Marcy Long in the stocks. It was patched later on that she was not essential anymore too, once I think Sanctuary was established, so you could kill her off and not deal with her complaining anymore. Anyway, yeah, omissions are Preston Garvey and Marcy Long. They are both in Sanctuary shortly after you begin Fallout 4 and finish up the tutorial kind of thing in Concord. Omissions over, let's finish this.
I don't have sufficient medical supplies with me, or else this wouldn't be a problem. If you have any stim packs, I would ask that you hand them over.
Help us end the Institute's greed.
How many shots like this you really get in a lifetime?
All those people dying in the Commonwealth while I was surrounded by food, medicine, and comfort. How could I be so blind to the Institute's greed? Oh, you really know how to push my buttons, don't you?
My number one for worst NPC in the Fallout series thus far is Doctor Madison Li. Her very existence frustrates me. She's got this weird mix between a MacGuffin character and only becomes intelligent to serve the plot and in no other situation. She's in both Fallout 3 and Fallout 4 and is frustrating in both to me. So let's start with my frustrations with her in Fallout 3. It seems as though Madison Li's moral compass only exists when she is questioned by the leading character in the story, either you, the main character, or James, your character's father. Her animosity is quite clear at your existence when you first show up to meet her in Rivet City. Your face reminds her of James and the unrequited love, yes, she has a crush too, on James, which messes up her decision making too, we'll get to that. Your character's very existence and birth caused James to cancel plans during the first phases of their big scientific endeavor, Project Purity, whose goal was creating a gigantic water purifier in the Jefferson Memorial to provide the entirety of the Capital Wasteland with clean water. The project was canceled for the 19 years you were alive. When you do emerge from the vault, those 19 years later, and manage to find James, when he returns to Rivet City to talk to Madison Li about needing a Gek, Madison is just stupidly easy to sway, drops everything her and her team are doing related to growing food for an entire city, and heads back to Project Purity at the Jefferson Memorial without too much fuss. Now, at this point, when you're helping out your dad and Madison Li and her team gear up and get Project Purity up and running again, she will barely acknowledge the Lone Wanderer right up until the turning point happens when the Enclaves show up. Then you're needed and essential for them to escape. After you escape to the old Pentagon, or the headquarters of Elder Lyon's Brotherhood of Steel, Dr. Li becomes pretty much inactive when it comes to dealing with you at all, and helps Scribe Rothschild get Liberty Prime up and running, their giant commie-killing robot. After the events of Fallout 3 taking out the Enclave and all that happens, she seeks to join the Institute after learning about it from Zimmer and having a falling out with Lyon's Brotherhood due to disagreements about their militaristic approach. To some Brotherhood of Steel members, she was perceived as a security risk. She feared for her life and as a result, left to find the Institute. So half going into hiding, half needing to exercise her science muscle, I guess. So as most Fallout scientists, like pretty much any Fallout scientists you can think of, Madison is easily enticed by shiny tech. Joining the Institute did make sense in this regard. Staying with the Institute for almost 10 years does not. Late into Fallout 4, as you're playing as the sole survivor, in your introductions to the Institute, you learn that Madison Li has not only joined the Institute, but become the Advanced Systems Division Head, which has to do with applied physics, and it includes weapons tech. She was against helping the Brotherhood of Steel develop weapons as means of control, including Liberty Prime, but was totally fine becoming division head of the part of the Institute that develops weapons. She also has these human moments that don't feel quite right because she keeps going back on the things that she says. As an example, she has 2 holotape logs in the Institute that you can find. The first was her outright refusing to work on a child synth, the prototype that you see when you first enter the Institute. The second holotape log was talking about her successful tests in creating a child synth and implying that she's becoming attached as well. If you work with the Brotherhood of Steel as well in Fallout 4, they will actually send you to retrieve Dr. Madison Li to help them work on Liberty Prime again. And she's under the false pretense that they're sending you as an assassin. But she's easy enough to convince because of the secrets the Institute has been keeping from her, yeah, okay. And again, appealing to her humanity. The Institute's keeping all the tech for themselves, refusing to help the Wasteland. But the Brotherhood's gonna do that too. I think the point I'm trying to get to here is she is a scientist of convenience. So it only seems that when main characters address and appeal to her humanity is when she shifts gears. Something she clearly cannot do without influence. If you're looking for Dr. Madison Li in Fallout 3, you can find her in Rivet City, in the science lab, of course, where scientists hang out. In Fallout 4, you'll find Dr. Madison Li as the head of advanced systems in the Institute when you arrive. So that is why Dr. Madison Li is the worst NPC in the Fallout series. To me, again. This is a subjective list. If there's some terrible NPCs that you thought of while we were going through this countdown that were not included, please add them in the comments below. Thank you so much for those who support my channel, my patrons at patreon.com/CaedoGenesis, on screen now, including Wasteland Legend Sven. Thank you so very much for watching. I am Caedo Genesis, and may you wander the wasteland like you own it.